Hey, folks. By the way, everybody, turn on your cameras and unmute. Join us like we're really in a live room together.
Hello, everybody.
There we go. Hey, even Patrick is here. I bet Patrick likes Elton John. That's when they used to know how to make music. Okay, you know, I mean, wow,
I am
what a great
surprised you
song
didn't
that
have
is.
Karen Carpenter on.
Oh, I love Karen Carpenter. I know. I am such a sap.
I
See, this is
know.
the stuff you'll not often hear about me on the podcast.
One day I'm just going to record. What's your favorite Karen Carpenter? I'm going to record it for you. I'll sing it.
Oh, you know that one where they say where she goes, well, on top of the world, right? That's like
Um,
their big song.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I don't know the names of the songs anymore because you know why? I used to know the names of all the songs, but I just listen on streaming services, so you just never
Uh,
know that anymore. We're
yeah,
used to choose the song, right?
right.
But anyway, hey, I'm glad you're all here. People still joining. Boy, we've got a lot of people who aren't here. And the first thing I should say is, Patrick, did all the text messages go out? Yes, they did. I saw it. So good stuff. Well, hey, everybody, come on, turn on your cameras. Turn on your cameras. Let me see you. Let me see your smiling faces. Hey, you ought to be smiling. Look at how much money you're all making. Wow. I mean, the market has, I just cannot believe it. I mean, can you believe it? Who can't believe this market continues to persist even in the face of higher interest rates? It's like a freight train that nobody can stop, huh? What do you think, folks?
Definitely defying gravity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
defying gravity, Joe. That's a good way to put it. I like
That was
that.
great, actually.
Yeah, really, really good. I'm going to use that one.
You can have it.
You made me think of Star Trek when they had those like anti-gravity machines. Very cool stuff. You know what's interesting about gravity? Scientists amazingly don't really understand it. Gravity is something that they don't, it's even hard to prove it exists, I guess. On YouTube I watch all kinds of weird stuff. Like I just watched a video by the physics girl. Do you watch her?
Ah, who's that?
I mean, listen, I love to hate on Google and YouTube, but let me tell you, your fellow humans can teach you so much.
Yeah.
Physics Girl's a great
That is
channel.
true.
And there's so many great ones. I mean, it's just incredible how much stuff you can learn on there. Not the least of which is investing and money stuff. And you know what? At a break somewhere along here in this event, I'm going to play for you a fantastic 8-minute video I just watched about an hour and a half ago. You're going to love this video because it's all about money. And I think you'll find it really interesting. I learned a lot watching this. So we've got, I see two of our lovely investment counselors here, Lisa and Sarah. How you doing? You're muted, so we wouldn't know. You got to unmute.
Unmuted. Hey, hey.
Unmuted. Okay. Hey, that would be a good that would be a good hashtag to trend on Twitter or something. Hashtag unmuted, like fighting censorship by big tech companies.
Sure.
Jason Hartman unmuted.
Yeah. That's all.
Jason
all
Hartman
the
is
time?
never muted.
I'm sure some people
That's
would like
great.
to mute him. Yeah. So, Sarah, how's the market?
It's hot. Which market? It is, it's an interesting time. Florida continues to surprise us. It's like obviously there's multiple markets within Florida, but it just keeps going up and up and up. Rents are going up. Lots of markets in Alabama. I would say the Alabama is, rents are a little more stable there. Not moving as quickly as Florida, but still very, very strong and stable. But you guys all see we get the properties and they still go the same day. And I'm like waiting for it to slow down a little bit, and it just keeps going. So
Yeah,
interesting
for
times
sure.
for sure.
That's for sure. I kind of wonder if Alabama is simply lagging in their rent growth from Florida, because Florida's obviously just taken off like crazy, as we all know. But maybe we'll see the deceleration in Florida rents. And by the way, I have a chart to show you on that. And today, literally just a few hours ago, I interviewed Lawrence Yun, the chief economist for the National Association of Realtors. You've, I'm sure, seen him in the news, read his stuff. And we had some interesting stuff to talk about, so that'll be published soon. But I'm going to share just a couple of quick charts I got from him with you tonight to kind of kick us off. So I wonder if we'll see the Florida rents have gone up so quickly, and same with many other places, not just Florida, obviously. But I wonder if we'll see Florida sort of decelerate a little bit because it's already had such a quick acceleration, and we'll see places like Alabama sort of catch up to it, and that'll be the next acceleration. That's a common thing that happens. There's this like offsetting effect in markets. I've definitely noticed over the years.
No, Jason, if I'm to jump in there, so I think you might be onto something. I watch some different folks who do syndications, right? These folks who go in and buy, complexes with 100 units or 200 units or even more. And I've seen many more of those deals come to market as syndications in Alabama. So yeah. I think you're onto something there because there's a lot of interest. There's a lot of new companies going into Alabama. It's great. They have a great defense industry sector down there, a lot of big companies. So I think that market is definitely going to grow in the future here.
Yeah, Tony, I agree with you. By the way, thank you for putting your location. Everybody, can you change your name on your Zoom to first name and city? And, if you live in like a small city that no one recognizes, just you can put the nearest big city or whatever you want. But just click on those three dots when you hover over your photo or your video feed and click rename and just change it to first name and city. That'd be great. I don't know if it's just me, but I commonly remember like, Tony from New Hampshire, right? And obviously that's not a city, but that'd be great. So thanks for reminding us of that, Tony. That's great. And I think that's true. So, the big apartment syndicators are obviously a huge part of the market, and they've already exploited Florida, I think is kind of what Tony's probably alluding to. And so now, they just look for the next place to kind of exploit. I don't mean that in a bad way per se, but you know what I mean. It's kind of like for them, it's picked over in Florida. I'm sure they're feeling that way. Yep. Where's all the good inventory? Just like, we'd all say, right? So that's definitely most likely a thing. So good stuff. Lisa, you want to give us a little update there? Now, wait, you're muted. But before you talk about the market, which you might be a little out of touch, because Lisa's been in the Galapagos and has been sending me pictures of like Charles Darwin, okay? And all his amazing discoveries. It's all yours.
Yeah, I am a little out of touch. I won't lie. I spent 2 weeks in the Galapagos and also in the rainforest. And this is a picture from the rainforest because my background is ugly because it looks like a bomb went off in here because I have luggage all over the place. And then I got sick after that. So I don't have a lot to add to what Sarah said, but I would say to look at, and I know for the Inner Circle members, I talk about this a lot on the Inner Circle, but madeinalabama.com, that website highlights so many new businesses that are moving to Alabama and all the money going there. So I really do think Jason's onto something when he's saying that Alabama will catch up to what Florida is seeing eventually. And I know, Andy, I send you articles when I see stuff all the time of like stuff moving specifically to McCalla where you bought.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more, Lisa, that Alabama is sort of the stepchild of Florida kind of thing, and Florida is of course the flagship. It's the main thing, but a lot of equity growth has happened already, so people are always going to look for less expensive alternatives. And surprisingly, I mean, when it comes to business, Alabama has their act together. I mean, it's an amazingly business friendly state that doesn't get a lot of press, but like Lisa said, if you look at Made in Alabama, I think you'll be impressed with that. And I don't, Sarah, are we going to have one of our Alabama representatives here tomorrow?
No, they're not going to make
They
it,
can't do it?
but
Okay.
they did say, rest assured, they're getting caught up on, all these builders have had these like supply chain issues. So we've seen a lot of slowdown in completion dates. But they seem to be getting caught up. They've had the least of the slowdowns. I think we've seen a lot more of those issues in Florida. But they said they're expecting some really good inventory second half of the year. And they've got a few now coming online, but they're really expecting to have a lot more inventory, in the next few months here.
And one more thing we should say, not that we're, talking a bunch about Alabama this weekend. It just happened to come up. But one thing that we should mention is that one of our big builder sources in several Alabama markets, we are constantly getting beat out by hedge funds who are buying mass property purchases from them. Like I remember they came to our live event in Orlando, and they said they had, I think, what was it, Sarah, like 60 new properties we could sell. And then a hedge fund came and just bought them all from them.
They gave us about a 1 week lead, and it was
Uh-huh.
120 deals that they had. And
Okay.
we got a bunch of them, but yeah, our clients that attended that conference got first dibs. And then they gave us the remainder of the week. First they said 2 days conference only, but then they extended it. I think they were traveling and such. So it worked out because a lot of it opened it up to the whole network for a few more days.
Right. Yeah, good stuff. Well, hey, before we lead off here, I thought I'd just share with you a few things, and it'll kind of get the conversation going. And then I want to hear from all of you, or at least some of you, whoever wants to just share kind of what's going on for them, because what that does, and what that did last time, is it helps me tailor the talk a little bit to you. One of the nice things about these virtual events and having a nice intimate group is that you can do that. Now, we had about double the number of people register and buy tickets who are on right now. So I know that some of the people, especially in the Pacific time zone, can't come this early. And I got to tell you, one of the things I do not like about being an East Coast guy is I hate the time zone here. I got to tell you. This time zone sucks if you're working with people.
Early bird gets the worm, Jason. You're up in front ahead of everybody else.
Yeah, nah, man. East Coast time is bad for business, at least for me, because I like to go to bed early and get up early, right? I'm like an old man. And well, actually, I am an old man, but and so it's like, well, when you see the State of the Union speech or whatever, it's always starts at like 9 p.m., right? And that's because the people on the West Coast want to, it's 6 o'clock for them. And, I'm just, you get me to 10 p.m. and I'm dead. So, I just can't do it, right? So that's the thing. So anyway, I think that's the reason we don't have everybody here yet. But I'll just share some stuff with you that's been interesting to me. I haven't talked about this anywhere before. It's all brand new material. And so let's kind of start off with looking at some of this. So one of the things that everybody's so concerned about, I hope you can all see my screen. Yep. Okay, great. Thanks, Tony. Is they're all concerned about obviously mortgage rates, and it has been a very significant jump. And Lawrence Yoon, after interviewing him today, he gave me this chart, and I thought it was pretty interesting because what it does is it compares the Fed funds rate, which is of course directly controlled by the Federal Reserve, and mortgage rates. And so if you look at this historically, okay, so this goes back to 1990, you see that these two parallel pretty well. I mean, look at how closely they sort of just mirror each other, right? And then look at this. This is, COVID, or no, sorry, that's not COVID. That's way pre-COVID. That's 10 years ago. Okay. And then you saw them go up a little bit, and, everybody thought we were going to go into a recession. And then we had the pandemic come along, and look what happened again, right? But just make sure. Yeah. But what's happening now, and what we talked about today that I thought was interesting, is that the market, for the mortgage market, went up much more than the Fed raised. Okay, so the Fed raised rates, but the mortgage market increased much more dramatically. And so he was telling me that he thinks we will not see big increases in mortgage payments as the Fed increases in the future. And I said to him, well, does that mean they've already priced it in?
Right.
Because the Fed has made no bones about the idea that they're planning to raise rates a lot more. They're planning to do several additional increases this year. And just always remember, the Fed does not directly control mortgage rates, but they definitely influence mortgage rates. They do control other rates, but not mortgage rates. Okay. So that's one thing that I thought was kind of interesting to share with you. And then this one that I just clipped yesterday, and this is from the Wall Street Journal, and it just shows you these increases in mortgages. They're pretty huge, and we're all feeling that right now. But here's the interesting thing. And, capitalism is so great. Because as rates have increased, the mortgage lenders are looking around for, different ideas, different types of products, different ways to mitigate these rate increases. They're still there, but can we offer different kinds of products? And one product is the 40-year mortgage that's coming back, which, hey, I'm all in favor of it. I think that's great. But the rates are pretty high currently on that product. Now, as we see more lenders offer it, it'll probably get, like everything, it'll get more competitive, and we'll see lower rates on these 40-year mortgages. But here's the beautiful thing about the 40-year mortgage. You ready for this? There you go. Here it is. The first 10 years of this product that we looked at just last week was interest only. That's beautiful. If I could have interest only mortgage forever, and a balloon payment at the end, I would love that. But what it does is goes interest only. So it's not amortized where you're paying principal and interest for all the 40 years. It's interest only for the first 10, which makes your payment very nice and low. And then in year 11, it starts to amortize on a 30-year schedule, just like a 30-year mortgage does. And that is an awesome program. The only complaint is the rates actually was pretty high on that. So hopefully we'll see those types of products go down a little bit. But
Jason, was that just for individuals looking to finance their home, or was that also available for commercial?
Well, I don't want to say commercial because I don't know what you mean by that, but it was available for investors in single family homes, 1 to 4 units.
Okay, so if I had a single family home in an LLC.
Yeah. Well,
or I'd probably have to take it out of the LLC, get one of these 40-year loans, and then put it back in the LLC, kind of a deal.
And Sarah might know because we were talking about that product. I don't know if she will or not, but I don't know that that's a Fannie Freddie product. So it might be okay in an LLC. I just don't know for sure.
More to come.
Sarah,
they're not Fannie Freddie.
Okay.
Okay.
So probably in the LLC is okay then.
Okay.
Yeah. Jason, is the rate fixed on the whole term, 40 years?
Yes, it's fixed rate for 40 years, but interest only the first 10.
Right. I understand.
Yeah. So, and by the way, who's speaking? It doesn't.
It doesn't have my name?
No, when I turn on the screen share, I can't see you. I can only see you.
Yeah, Robert.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Gosh.
I can see him.
Zoom is so
We can see you, Robert.
Yeah, we can see you, Robert.
I'm glad everyone
I
can
got
see
it
me.
back. I got
Hi,
it.
Jason.
Thank you. Yeah, I see you now. I see.
All
you.
right, good. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just. It's weird how.
Jason,
As soon as you share the screen, it freaks out. Go ahead.
Yeah.
what's the rate that you're talking about, is it 8%, 10%?
No, not that bad. Just over 6. It was like maybe 6.25 or something. And I haven't thought about rates in the 6s for a little while, so
So a normal rate.
I've been very spoiled, and I'm thinking 6 is like absurd. Are you crazy? Yeah. So, but anyway, here's the thing. Now, before I show you this next slide, I just want to tell you about it before showing it to you. The common mistake people make. Okay. And by the way, folks, I love it when you're unmuted so we can have a discussion, but just please be mindful of the noise of, that kind of whatever, right? So just be mindful of that, or mute if you have to be noisy. But here's the thing. A lot of people make a lot of mistakes by thinking that it's all about the interest rate, because it's not all about the interest rate. It's also about the availability of credit. So the Mortgage Bankers Association publishes, and that's the MBA, they publish something called the MCAI. And I talked about it on the show maybe like a year ago, probably. And the MCAI stands for Mortgage Credit Availability Index. So remember, it's not just about the rate of the mortgage, it's about the availability of mortgages. And I'll give you an example of that. Coming out of the Great Recession, the several years after that, there were times when we had, from what we're used to before that, pretty low rates, but the ability to get those loans was extremely difficult. It was very, very tight. So even though the rate was low, could you get the loan? Total different question, right? Completely different concepts. So what has happened, interestingly, as the rates have gone up, look at this. Mortgage credit. Oh, wait, I already switched the side. Did I switch it and not surprise you? Yeah, there it was. Here's the mortgage credit availability. It actually rose a little bit, interestingly. Okay. So now, it's not as high as it was, but it's, it rose a little bit as the rates went up. So that actually increases purchasing power and has a stimulative effect on the market. But we still have extremely low inventory. Okay. Now, I've quoted Altos Research a lot when I've talked about inventory. And one of the things I talked to Lawrence Yoon about today was, I said, why do the National Association of Realtors charts and the Altos Research charts give completely different inventory numbers? And I had him explain that on the show, which obviously will be published in the future. But it's because the National Association of Realtors, what they call housing inventory, is everything for sale, everything listed as a contingent sale in the MLS, and, believe it or not, everything listed as a pending sale in the MLS. Now, to me, that does not represent housing inventory for sale. But he seemed to explain that they wanted a consistent number, and some homes do come back on the market, et cetera. So that's why their inventory number is so much higher than Altos. I prefer the way Altos calculates it with just the truly available listings. Big difference. So if you look at their stats, they'll tell you there's about 240,000 homes for sale. If you look at NAR stats, they'll tell you there are about 800,000 homes for sale or in inventory. But I definitely would not consider inventory to be, homes that are contingent or pending. Okay. And also, he talked to me today about how we only have about 2 months of inventory. So if no more inventory comes on the market after today, at the existing rate of sales, it'll take 2 months to absorb and sell every single property that's on the market. And normally we should have about 6 months of inventory. So there's 1/3 of what we need if you look at the NAR stats. If you look at the Altos research stats, which, sorry, I don't have that in front of me, it's not on the screen. But if you look at those stats, they'll tell you we need 3 to 5 times the amount of inventory to be in a quote unquote normal market, not a recession, not a buyer's market, not a bad market. Okay. But can we solve the problem with building more, with housing starts? So here is what's going on with housing starts. Okay. So back to 2000, we saw it climb. We saw too much inventory moving into the Great Recession. Then we saw the mortgage meltdown, a lot of foreclosures, and we all know what happened, right? And then we saw they completely dropped off. And it took a long time for it to recover, right? There was just very little housing construction going on. And just remember something, that this does not segment by price. So this doesn't show you which homes are entry-level houses versus which homes are high-end houses or mid-level houses. It doesn't show you the price range, it's just overall numbers, right? So here's where we are now, right? So this problem in terms of lack of inventory is going to take, 2 to 5 years to solve if the builders build at the pace they're going at now. But the problem is they're not building entry-level housing, and that's the stuff we investors are buying or want to buy. So that small little segment of entry-level housing is just the golden ticket, because even after the housing shortage rectifies itself, right? And it may or may not do that, but let's assume it does, and say it takes 3 years or 5 years. Even when that happens, there will still be a massive undersupply of entry-level, bread and butter, rental-oriented houses. So as Generation Z in 5 years is going to be, the leading edge of Generation Z will be about maybe 32 years old by then. That's prime home buying time, or, and it's certainly renting time. And I don't know that Gen Z is going to be like the millennials that just live at home forever. Okay. So, we'll see. Okay. So I thought this was interesting to share. And then this shows you the job situation. And by the way, I hate how Zoom covers the top of my screen. Move this thing. So this is the job recovery. Oh, by the way, I didn't size this very well, did I? Anyway, you can see it. Jobs recovery compared to pre-COVID days. So there's the 2-year date range, almost 2 years, right? And you can see where the jobs are declining in the non-business friendly states. Generally, it's not a perfect thing. And, up here we go as well. Tony, there you go. Okay. Patrick, here you go. And then we see where the jobs are growing, right? And, those are the more business friendly states, obviously. So I'm sure that comes as no surprise to anybody.
Interesting enough, Alabama is in the negative.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
Is that a percentage?
Yes, I think it is a percentage. His chart did not say much, but yeah, I think it's a percentage. And so I don't really have an explanation for that, but I don't know.
But all real estate is local, so it depends which market you're looking at.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there are obviously very rural places in Alabama, okay, versus the city-oriented areas. But the other thing this probably shows us is remote work, right? And how in the future, people just don't need to go to where the jobs are, and people can go away from where the jobs are, because it doesn't matter where the jobs are. If they're not working with their hands and they're in the information worker segment, then who cares? They can just be wherever they want to be, right? Most of the time. So that's an interesting thing. Now, this one's kind of interesting. I was a member of the National Association of Realtors for 19 years when I was a traditional real estate agent. I haven't been a member for a long time, but this always has been a proxy for what people think is going to happen in the real estate market. So it's like the gold rush, right? I mean, think back to the days of the 49ers and the California gold rush and all of that, right? When when people get wind of money to be made, they rush into something, right? That's just what humans do, and it makes perfect sense. That's the way capitalism allocates resources, including human resources. So people being bullish on the real estate market have jumped in and they got their real estate license and they joined the National Association of Realtors. And so if you look at the difference here, it's pretty amazing. I mean, back, just post Great Recession now, there is a lag, right? Because at least in California, where I have my license, it comes up for renewal every 4 years. So once you have a license, unless you've got to go take continuing education and pay a fee, you're not going to give up your license. You just keep it until it expires, right? And so people keep that. So there's kind of a lag. So if the Great Recession happens here and people start to, really feel the pain here and here, right? They're not going to just relinquish their license. They'll just keep it, right? And then they let it go when it comes up for renewal. And then as things start to recover, they all start getting their licenses again and getting back into the business. And one of the interesting things here is we're talking about the Great Resignation and how there's a labor shortage everywhere. And anybody who's employing anybody knows this. It's a terrible problem. Even Elon Musk said the biggest problem is not that there's too many people, it's that there's not enough people. And of course, Russia, Japan, Western Europe, and largely the Western world just isn't having children, sadly. And so, the human race is going extinct, basically, but especially Western oriented, or I should say developed economies are suffering the most from that. And so, but the one area where there's no labor shortage is in real estate. There's lots of real estate people. There's a huge supply, an oversupply, in fact, because as we've seen this market be so tight, the transactions are declining because there's nothing to sell. If you want to have more sales, you got to have something to sell, and there's just not enough inventory. So think of how flawed some people perceive things, right? There are probably zillions of people as we sit here right now thinking about, they're looking at the sales stats, even economists, right, who should know better. They're looking at the sales stats, the housing sales stats, and there are people thinking they're going to time the market and they're going to wait until the market crashes, and then they're going to, they're keeping their powder dry and they're going to use their cash later and all this kind of stuff, right? We've all heard it. We've all thought it. Of course, we've all thought that too. And so they're watching the sales statistics and they're seeing, well, sales are down. I think the real estate market's slowing. There's going to be a collapse. It's going to cool off, and that's going to be my opportunity to buy. I'm going to go in and buy a house finally, or buy some more rental properties. And what they don't know is that the reason that sales are down is because there's no freaking inventory. There's nothing to sell. Okay. So, the very flawed thinking that happens a lot. And if you're watching the mainstream media, that's the kind of stuff you're going to hear, but it's just silliness. Okay. Here's the rent stuff. And then we'll kind of end my little update here. This is mind blowing. Now, this is from apartmentlist.com. They've been on the show a few times over the years. And notice that this is just the larger cities with over 1 million population. So you're not going to see Cape Coral, Florida in here, or a whole bunch of other places, right? These are bigger cities, okay? So over the past 6 months, this is the rent growth, okay? Over the past 12 months, this is the rent growth. And since March of 2020, the start of the pandemic, this is the rent growth.
Whew.
It's shocking. Now, couple things to remember. This doesn't show you by price segment. Okay, so I'll give you an example. my ex-girlfriend, she wants to move to Miami. And, Sarah and Lisa, that's Carmen I'm talking about. Okay. And so she was here in Florida a couple of weeks ago. And she said she was just looking. She's looking for an apartment to just rent temporarily while she looks for a house. And, she makes good money. I mean, she can afford it. Right. And it's like everywhere she went, they had nothing for rent, just nothing. She kept going from one place to another, calling, searching online, visiting in person. There is nothing. Okay, what if I go up $1,000? Nothing. What if I go up $1,500 a month? Nothing. Suddenly I'm at $4,500, $5,000 a month. I still can't rent anything, she said. I mean, it's just unbelievable, the rental shortage. So the lesson for us is don't be afraid to raise your rents a lot. The market will absorb it most of the time. And, if I could just call on anybody, I know one person here who's talked to me a lot about that, and that's my mother. Mom, do you care to share? If you're listening, I don't know if you are. If you want to unmute yourself, you got to unmute, Mom. High technology.
Well, I was going to, raise all of my rents. As a matter of fact, I've made out all of the envelopes to do so. The first
envelopes. No online portal here. Nothing, folks. Envelopes. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, you want to send it through the mail, so
Right.
Well, anyway, I'm
No.
okay.
I got to tease you, okay?
Oh, but anyway, the first one hit today, it hit last night, and it was for this house that I have in the Los Angeles area. And so I just decided, I told the tenant, I wouldn't raise her rent for 2 years if she would agree to such and such an increase. Well, anyway, that increase is that rent is terribly low now. So I'm raising her rent $700 a month. And
on what base? How much is the base rent currently? I mean, we're talking about LA. This is a house you bought a long time ago before you were doing our plan. I grew up in LA, and obviously, so you bought properties there. Decades ago.
Paid like $2,300, and I'm going to raise it to $3,000.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Joyce, can you raise my rents too?
And so I sent a 90-day notice, but I don't care. I mean, I hope she moves. Okay. But I don't want to do this thing where you give them a notice that you're going to sell the house and they have 2 months to move. I thought this is the easiest way to do it. But I don't know. She is vociferously saying that I'm not doing it properly. And
you mean not raising the rent properly? Because see, in California, you have all kinds of rules about this.
Yeah.
So,
but I'm a single family, and I'm not owned by, I don't have an LLC. I'm not a REIT, and I'm not a corporation. So single families escape all of that.
Yep.
So we'll just see what happens. So she said, she sent me an email last night. I didn't respond to it. I thought, well, I'd let my rent increase hit. So, I don't know, maybe she'll try to sue me. I
sue
really,
you for what?
Well, there is rent control now in California, right?
yes, but my house doesn't fall under any of those rent control things.
Yeah,
Okay.
it doesn't apply to everybody. It's sort of uneven the
Right.
way it works. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I just thought I'd give it a whirl and see what happens.
Okay. So you think the market rent though is 3,000 or more, right? That's why you're saying you wouldn't mind if she moves.
It's a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom house, and 1,600 square feet. Yeah, it is. According to
That's
Zillow.
cheap.
And
I mean,
Zillow's always behind now.
Yeah. I would assume that that's actually quite cheap for 2,300 for sure. And 3,000 even, I would think is lower. But I didn't know that, Mom. I didn't know you were going to say that. You didn't tell me about that one.
What?
I was just talking about some of your others where you raised like $400 a month, and the people just stayed. which
Oh,
is amazing.
When I did this last year, everyone stayed except for two people. One moved because their children had grown up and they didn't need the area with that special school, or near Kelton Avenue anymore. And so that person decided to leave, and because both of the kids were in college, okay? And so the other one decided they didn't like the rent increase, and so that's why. But everyone else stayed, absolutely.
Yeah. What usually happens with this, and I've heard stories like this. Thank you for sharing that, by the way. And I've heard stories like this all over the place from our clients. And what I think goes on is, the tenant gets the rent increase, and they're like, "No way," and they think, "I'm not going to stay," and then they just spend the next day or two looking at what else is on the market, and they realize rents really have come up, probably more than that. And so they just sit tight. They say, we'll take it. And it's always been a game of keep your tenants, right? The whole idea is reduce tenant turnover, et cetera, et cetera. But let me tell you, I bet you this weekend, and, hopefully tomorrow we have all, 70 people here or so, I'll bet you that at least 60 or 70% of us, our rents are under market, if not a higher number than that. Okay. So your rents are probably below market. And I think a big part of this whole thing is the institutional players getting into the market. And when you have Invitation Homes and American Homes for Rent and these giant corporations in the market, they will be much better than individual mom and pop landlords at raising rents. And so you're going to see rents go up a lot faster in the years to come. So that's just the reality of it, folks. We have a shortage. If the government wants to help solve the problem, the thing they need to do is they need to make it easier to build more homes, period. Full stop. That's the problem. There's just not enough homes. They need to incentivize developers, and they need to scale back the restrictions and the requirements to make it easier to build more homes. It's the only solution. Okay. So, what questions or thoughts do you have on all of this stuff? Any discussion on it?
Yeah, I have a quick thought or question. Your first slide you showed there about the Fed funds and the interest rate, how they sort of trailed one another. If you notice, like they come down and up and down and up, but every time they don't get up as high as they were before. They started out, say the Fed funds rate were at 6, and then they had to come all the way down to say 3 or 2. They can only get back up to 4. So each time they can only raise it up so much. And I think the last time was 2.5 or something before it came back down. So if they're going to raise a bunch this year, or say they're going to raise the Fed funds rate a bunch this year, I mean, how many times do you think they can raise it before they just start to have to come back down again?
They're chicken because of inflation or because of risking depression. And, not only did they raise rates those times successively, but they're doing things like, increased quantitative easing. And then they started, buying mortgage-backed securities. And then next time, what is it going to be? Is it going to be stocks? Is it going to be, they're going to have to do more and more of this QE in order to, QE infinity, right, Jason? To keep this, to keep it going. And so it's always going to be smaller and smaller and smaller going forward. It was a good observation, but it's just going to get smaller until the whole thing just blows up.
Yeah. And the whole thing has to blow up someday. The question is, when. It could probably go on another 100 years. I don't know. Who knows, and that's why all of the doom and gloomers like Peter Schiff and Harry Dent, they're just always wrong, because the one thing they just don't know, and nobody knows, is how, when you blow up a piece of bubble gum, right? You have some idea as to how big the bubble can get, right? But they don't know. We've never been here before. There's no history. There's no metric. You just don't know how far it can go. Robert, I'm curious. You seem to be really into this stuff and know a lot about it. What do you do for a living?
Well, I am a trader.
Oh, okay.
Stocks, bonds, that sort of thing, options mostly. And so
Professionally or for your own account?
that's what I'm living on.
Uh-huh.
But not, I mean, not for a company, for myself.
Did you do that as a career before or something?
No, it's actually, the last couple of years. I had done it, back in 2008, 2009, and then got into some other business, and then came back to this, when everything was hijacked.
Yep. Good stuff. Yeah. Thanks for letting us know.
Sure.
Appreciate your insights there. Good. Okay. Anybody else? Thoughts or discussion on any of this stuff? Nope. Okay. I got one more thing, and then I want to go around and do a little sharing, and then we'll get into some content again. So before I forget, I just want to make sure I show you this. I have a friend who's really active in the political world. And you all know, of course, the famous, or if you hate him, infamous Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida, right near where I live. I've driven by this place a million times. I've always wanted to go inside. Well, I posted in our collective mastermind Facebook group yesterday, and so Tony's a member, and he saw this. And so is Joe. Joe, did you see this?
I did.
Yeah. Okay. And so I have a really interesting deal. If anyone wants to take advantage of it, they told me I could sell a few tickets for them and share this friends and family link where you can come to an event there on Thursday, 6 days from today. And Trump will be there. He will be speaking. I can't guarantee a photo op. Maybe some of you would not want one with him, but whatever. It's not a political thing. It's just an interesting thing. I mean, look, if this was Clinton's house, I would go. I don't care. I'm apolitical in that respect. I just want to check it out. And for only $500, okay? And this is like a $2,000 ticket. So I got a friends and family deal. My friend let me in, and I said, hey, do you want me to share that with some friends and stuff? And so I thought I'd just share it with you. And if anybody's interested, just let us know, and we'll send you the private link to register. Tony, by the way, are you going?
So not sure yet. I have a conflict that weekend. We have a family event that weekend. So I don't know. I'm trying to find a way to work around it.
Yeah, I know you reached out for the link, and I was just
wondering. No, it sounds really interesting. I do want to go. It's just a matter of, is the schedule going to allow for it?
Got it. Good stuff. Well, hey, let's go around and let me just get an idea for who's here. How about if we start with Andy? Can you tell us, you're in Hastings, New Mexico, and just tell us just quickly a 30-second, 1 minute, just little info about yourself, where you are as an investor, etc.
Actually, it'd be Minnesota, not New Mexico.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I read that backwards. Right. That's dyslexia. Yeah.
So I bought my first house last September in Alabama.
Uh-huh.
And I saw on Zillow that it went up to close to 300,000.
How much did you pay for it?
280.
Isn't this easy?
I was wondering when I should refinance. Wait a little longer or what?
Wait a little longer, but
yeah. I just bought a townhouse in January that I'm living in. I'm going to finish the basement and refinance and hopefully move to Florida and start buying other houses. I want to buy a duplex down there when I move down.
Yeah, cool. Good stuff. Jeremy, you want to go next? Thank you, Andy.
Yeah, so I'm here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I started a small business about 8 years ago, and that led me into being able to sell it to some investors and stay in as partner. And that was 2018, right before the pandemic and all that good stuff. Well, I just I had a lot of extra money, and so we bought. So far, we're up to like 6 rentals now. We waited until 2020 before we started buying rentals. So over the last 2 years, we bought 3 each year basically, and then I started another company on the side, and we're on number 13 on our flip houses. So we're doing remodels as well.
Hmm. Good stuff. Good stuff. And where you're buying 3 a year, you said, for your buy and hold portfolio?
That's kind of where we're at right now. Yeah. I mean, they're hard to find too. So
Yeah.
that's kind
Believe
of
me,
what's
I
slowing
know.
us down a little bit.
Yep. I hear you. Good stuff. Thanks. Robert?
Oh, okay. So originally from New Jersey, I just moved down to Maryland to help out family last month. And instead of selling the condominium that I had up in New Jersey, I decided to turn it into a rental. I had always been interested in real estate, properties, whatever, but I never pulled the trigger. I was always working on other things, and so I decided to do it. And Jason, as I told you today, I just handed over the keys to a tenant today. It's my first rental property, so I'm very happy about it. And it took a couple of years to to really get it done, but I'm really excited about that. And thanks to Jason and Ken McElroy and all of the guys that I've been listening to and putting it all together. So I've been working with Carrie for about 6 months, planning the next steps, because the first step is a cash out refi of that condo, which I paid for fully, not wanting to worry about anything. And so I'm just moving forward. So
Well, and I hope I've changed your mind, or will change your mind about that, because
oh yeah, absolutely.
the safest position is to have the mortgage on the property. Counterintuitive, of
you
course.
bet. But I was in a low income situation for a while, not out of work, but I was in a low income situation, so wasn't really able to get a mortgage for that for my own residence. So it was just easier to pay it out of there, pay cash for it. And so because I couldn't justify the ongoing income at that point.
Yep, understood.
So,
Understood. Sounds good. Well, congratulations on
thank you.
your first tenant. Let's hope it works out well.
Seems like
That
it will,
first one,
but you never know.
yeah. Good stuff. Tony.
I think there's a couple of Tonys on here. Which one?
Yeah, we'll go you. I'm just going on the order on my screen, but it's different on everybody else's screen. So
Yeah, I
you may
didn't
think
want to
I'm
stop
calling
on
people
any.
weird,
Didn't want to
you know,
step on any toes. So yeah, my name's Tony Lopes. I have real estate in New Hampshire. I have a couple of places down in Florida. It's been a fun ride. I've been in this for almost 20 years, or 19 years to be exact, and it's been a fun ride. I've had a great time doing it. I was able to retire at age 44 doing real estate. Now I pretty much do whatever I want. It's been a great life. And I just turned 50 years old last week. So
happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So
Hey,
the last
we could sing you happy birthday,
No,
but we
please
might
don't.
get sued for copyright violation.
yeah, no. So
the Girl Scouts got sued for that,
oh, I didn't know that.
because the song is copywritten. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So so a couple of things. So I do real estate consulting, and I do refer a lot of folks to Jason as far as the empowered investor group that he leads. And a couple of you guys may be on the phone now, but I've been in this for a long time. I've been to a lot of networking events and workshops and different things. And by far, for folks who are new and on this call today, by far Jason's group, and I'm not saying that because he's here, I'm trying to kiss up, I'm not. By far his empowered investor group is the best that I've found, right? And that's why I'm here. But and then in addition to doing all that stuff, I did just join, as Jason mentioned, I joined the mastermind, the collective that Jason leads up, as well as George Gammon and Ken McElroy. And if anybody is interested in joining a mastermind, that has been phenomenal. These guys do a top-notch job with that, right? We've been able to rub elbows, literally, sit down and have conversations with one-on-one with like Robert Kiyosaki, right? I mean, everybody knows Robert, and to be able to sit down and have conversations with him, we've had
or to get drunk with him. You know?
yeah, no, he's a fun
Yeah.
guy. He is a fun guy. We've been on the dance floor with him when there were the flamingo dancers out there and the whole bit.
That was fun.
He's a fun
I
guy.
hope
We've
nobody
had
sees
lunch.
some of those videos, but
We've had lunch at his house one afternoon. So to be able to hang out with Robert and get his insights on things, same with Kim Kiyosaki, you know, Ken McElroy is also another whiz in real estate. And, you know, so if anybody's looking to join a mastermind, I would highly recommend the collective. It's been a blast. So that's it. I'm done.
and that's how we met, through the collective, Tony. That was our first meeting.
Yes.
Was your member call for that. Good
Yep.
stuff. Thank you for that. And Muthaya, how about you? Last time I talked to you was a few days ago on Voxer. I don't think Muthaya is listening. Nope, he's not. Okay, let's go to Annie. How about Annie? And you're muted. Yeah, there you go.
Let's see, I'm a little bit like Robert in the way that, well, I'm living in my first rental because I haven't actually rented it out to anybody yet. So I'm just learning the tricks of the trade and trying to jump from this place to the next place. It's been a challenge. I'm in Denver, Colorado. I have a plan, but it's going to be a little bit tricky. I found a property. It's actually, my dad owns it. So I'm trying to figure out, he's 94. He wants to sell it to me, but he wants to sell it to me for like market value here. So it's going to be a leap. I'm learning about some creative financing strategies to try and make that work. But yeah, so I'm in construction management. That's what I do. I do drywall. I like manage the guys. I don't actually do it myself. But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, good stuff. So tell us about the construction business right now, Annie. I mean, the shortages of labor and materials, right?
Yeah. So, well, when COVID first happened, that's when we had the biggest constraints on steel. That's when my world kind of came crashing down because we were used to just-in-time deliveries. And so when that happened, then our projects kind of got knocked out of whack because things that we were used to getting very easily were like 3 months out. So that was crazy, and we had to get creative with that, but that's really kind of settled down. And then we all use metal for commercial projects that I'm in, and not very much lumber. So I haven't really had to deal with that. Right now, I think the biggest constraints are like on insulation, and I haven't had that too bad. So it's actually been really good lately. But I'm in drywall and metal framing and finishing. Other trades are having other issues, and I am seeing projects push. Like I have probably 3 right now that still haven't started that were supposed to start last year. So it has been definitely a thing. As far as labor, I mean, the labor force is aging right now. And so we're trying to get young blood in there, and we're trying to get young blood with good work ethic. And that's been tricky. There's kind of an attitude these days that's a little bit unsettling, I guess. So trying to get the guys kind of engaged and want to work and feel proud of the work that they do is something that we're always working on. Yeah,
you know, when I interviewed that building industry association guy, I can't remember what exact organization he's with, but I don't know if you heard that interview. He said the average construction worker was like in their 50s now.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
That just blew my mind. Yeah. And so millennials and Gen Zers just won't do it, huh? It's they're too good for it. Is that the deal? The unsettling attitude you mentioned?
Too tough for them.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know that they won't do it, but they certainly don't have like the work ethic. So the 50-year-olds and 40-year-olds, 30-year-olds even, I would say they used to be very competitive in the field, and it was kind of like a badge of honor to be able to make high production. And now, you know, in commercial, it's hourly. And there's really they really just don't share that kind of ambition. You know what I mean? It seems a lot more entitled in a way, in a sense.
Yeah.
And I'm not it's hard work. So I'm not, you know, I mean, these guys work their butts off no matter what.
Yeah.
But but there just used to be a different attitude about it where they would strive to be better and be faster, kind of a thing. And now that just doesn't seem to be the sense.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. And is this commercial construction or residential? Or
I'm in
both?
commercial.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, thank you for sharing that. And when I saw your name up there, I have to tell you, I thought of one of my other favorite musicians. That's John Denver, and his great song, which is called Annie's Song, which, by the way, if anyone's familiar with that, it's an awesome song.
That's my favorite.
Yeah. Oh, you know the song.
Of
Yeah.
course.
You follow my senses. Yeah, that's such a great song. I love that song. Good stuff. Well, thank you for sharing that. And let's go to Javier.
Well, originally born in Colombia, I moved to the US in the 90s with the .com. I'm being in the technology workforce so long. I started my side hustle in real estate investment in the 2016. Have some properties in Texas, some properties in Tennessee, one in Indiana, one in Florida. I'm building one in Cape Coral and looking to build another one in the Smoky Mountains probably in the next 6-8 months.
Now you're reminding me of John Denver even more, but go ahead. Yeah.
Well, it is, I hope one time my actual job become the hustle side of the job, but I'm not there yet. I'm looking to scale the business. It's tough these days. Just to get the quote of the trusses for my house in Cape Coral took 4 months. Just to get the quote of the trusses, it's going to be another 8 months for delivery of the trusses. So it's going to be tough.
You're talking about the materials, the roof trusses. You can't get them, right? Yeah.
Just the quote 4 months, just to get the quote. So
to get a quote,
just to get the quote, just to get the quote.
Not the actual trusses.
No, the actual trusses.
Wow.
Right.
Oh God.
So that is it's crazy, but in the other side, you have the people speculating with the already used market so high that I can build a house for 20% less of what a used house costs built in the 70s. So that didn't make sense to me. So I went into the construction, but I'm suffering, learning what is happening when you get into something that you don't know. But
yeah,
I'm gonna get it through some way.
Yeah, I know. It's just the whole world is just on this just-in-time world, and I am shocked that we're still talking about shortages this far after lockdowns have lifted. It's absolutely ridiculous, but it is what it is. But on the good side, Javier, these shortages are causing the prices to go up. So for anybody that owns anything, they're benefiting from it. And I got to tell you, you know what? I'm just going to play for you. You made me think of it. But Javier, thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it.
No problem.
And I want to play for you a Voxer message. Actually, it's a message I left for one of my contractors working on a house I bought. So this house has a room where we're going to put 2 barn doors, those sliding little barn doors that go inside the house, right? Yep. And this is what the message I left him just yesterday, and it's just such a symptom of the problem that we're facing here. Make sure I got the right message. Okay, yeah, here it is. Hey, Miguel, thank you for the message. So the barn doors are above, and those are at Lowe's. The sliding doors at Home Depot, I mean, you can get it anywhere you want. I don't care. Just as long as it's, good quality and not too expensive, and it's got a white frame on the slider. But I got to tell you, everything's going up so fast. Those barn doors, the price has risen now 3 times since I started talking to you about it. Those were originally $179, and now I think they're like $239. So please buy them. So the price doesn't go up anymore. And let's get this done. Thank you. So these barn doors, I've been talking to my contractor about these barn doors for 3 weeks, and the price has gone up 3 times. They were $179, now they're $239. It's the same product. So it just goes to show all of us that during times of inflation, just buy stuff and own stuff. like stuff. It doesn't have anything, any stuff, right? Will insulate you from the decline in the value of your money because that's what's happening so quickly. And I think that the barn doors are just a perfect example of that. All right, Joe.
Sure. So my name's Joe Ware, and I'm from Tabernacle, New Jersey. It's a small
Also a
town.
collective member.
Also a collective member, and I'll just sort of second what Tony said. It's been a fantastic group. We've got to meet a ton of great people. You learn a ton from, and it's also really nice to meet people of such a high caliber like that are doing such big things. And once you get to talk to them, they're just like any of us on here, just trying to figure out things as they go. And it's just real approachable. So it's been a real great experience. So I couldn't recommend it enough to anybody. But as far as I go, I'm an entrepreneur, investor, and I also work in the construction space as a W-2 employee. I'll be dropping that last one in 2023, so I'm really excited about that. Use the W-2 job to get it was a lot easier to get the financing throughout the years for single family houses, but there's been a lot of stuff, a lot of other programs that come out now that they work with you a lot more if you have money through investments or through your not W-2 things. I'm sure Jason could probably explain more about that.
No. Yeah.
But anyhow, my main investments are the commodities, as Jason explains, the packaged commodities in real estate, but I'm also a big fan of agriculture and oil and gas. So I use oil and gas investments to sort of take care of the taxes from the W-2. And I also, a lot of people use like IRAs and self-directed IRAs and things like that. I'm not a big fan because I want to be able to do with the money exactly how I want to do with it. So
Right.
some of those that I had in the past before I understood, I actually liquidated all those, and some of the tax and penalties by moving that into the oil and gas space, it mitigated all the taxes and penalties that I had to pay for liquidating those. And then I get that money back, and now I can now funnel it into real estate and actually use that passive income for myself. So it's just kind of a strategy that I use that I thought may be worth mentioning to people, something that they could consider. But yeah, that's sort of what I get involved in. And then the agriculture, I think, is a great commodity play. We use a little bit of it for a plan B on our end. We do it locally here. We grow some of our own food and things like that. And then we also have a farm store, so they try to build a community. So it's another type of thing we do. And I also invest in foreign agriculture to have a foreign sort of currency coming in, just a little bit of a diversification. So just some different ideas for people to think about.
Good stuff. And did you do that last deal with, like, I don't know, there were several duplexes you were buying or something? Forgive me, I don't remember exactly.
Yes, it was, and I just bought 3 duplexes that they're all side by side on the same street in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
we just closed on those a couple of weeks ago. And yeah, I'm sort of in the same boat there. They're pretty far under market. One of them, we're doing some renovations right out of the gate that it needed, but some of the other ones, they don't need too much renovation. The plan was to renovate them and bring them to market, but we're actually going to bring them just below market with 0 renovations, just because I don't think we're going to have to do that to get those rental rates. And it just made more sense because it's been so hard getting products and the delays in labor that we said, well, if we just stay just a little bit below market, we won't have to do any renovations, and they're most likely going to stay.
Yeah, good stuff. And then when you do the renovations later, maybe the materials will be a lot more available. Who knows?
Exactly.
Hopefully they'll be more available. Yeah. Good stuff. Thank you for sharing, Joe. Nick from Greenville. I love Greenville. What a cool town. That is such a nice place. I was so pleasantly surprised. You know what happened? I bought a few properties there many years ago, and I never saw them. So I went to see them and check out the market for our clients and stuff. And I was so pleasantly surprised. What a charming little town.
Yeah, Greenville is it's pretty amazing. So I actually grew up in New York. And
Greenville's way better than New York.
Oh my gosh. So
a lot of things are better than New York.
Yeah, I grew up in New York, Long Island.
David's going, yeah.
and then I moved to Baltimore, Maryland, and then met my wife there. And in 2016, we just knew it was time. Like we didn't want to plant roots, raise kids with craziness going on in the city of Baltimore. So we did a lot of research and came to the conclusion that Greenville was on the way up. Just a great city. It's not coastal. Plenty to do, and we saw a real opportunity with real estate here, like low taxes and like lots of affordability. So moved here in 2016 and bought my first rental in 2017 and was buying 2 rentals a year until I capped out my DTI, like using bank financing. And then
Debt to income ratio.
yeah, debt to income ratio. And then in 2020, like I was just getting frustrated. So I was buying houses in cash and rehabbing in cash out of pure frustration. This is me being naive. I didn't realize like I could use a hard money lender. I just like, I don't know. I didn't trust like the process. And then I found a great hard money lender, and I scaled from 6 at the end of 2019 to 34 single family houses in this market. So it's
Good for
been,
you.
yeah, it's been nonstop. Pretty much since like the pandemic. Like it's been 7 days a week. My wife is a realtor. We're just making hay while the sun's shining right now. So running a ton of advertising, TV, radio, PPC. Like we're even buying off the MLS if it's a I don't know, like a vinyl village type house, basically like what the hedge funds are buying. Like if we can get a foot in the door, I mean, they're renting at such a premium right now. So whatever we can get, it's a wonderful market.
Yeah. Buy stuff, own stuff during times of inflation. Absolutely. Trade money for stuff. You're much better off with stuff. So I agree. That's the lesson, you know. Good stuff. Well, thanks for sharing that, Nick. Appreciate it. You're running a real real estate business, like a business. So that's great to hear. Good stuff. Okay, let's go to Tom from Placentia. I used to live in Orange County, so I know where that is.
Hello, okay, I'm unmuting myself. Okay, my name's Tom, and I'm recently retired, and I just got in touch with Sarah a couple of days ago with more information. Hello, Sarah, how you doing? And so I just had questions of how do I get started? I want to get started. I came into some money through an inheritance. My dad passed away, and he was a longtime landlord. He had 4 properties, and he has been doing it since the 60s. So he always had passive income to supplement his pension. And we really didn't talk about it, but basically I want to follow in his footsteps and have some passive income. I'm investing in stocks also, but I want to diversify and see what I can do in real estate. And basically I'm on step 1. I'm signed up for this tomorrow session. And then I have to set up a call with Sarah and get started from there, see what a beginner does.
Great. Well, you're in the right place, Tom, and congratulations on making the right decision. Income property is the most historically proven asset class in the world. So good decision. Thank you for sharing all that. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay, let's go to Dave in Massachusetts. Or Mom, I'm probably not saying it right. She's always correcting me, but yeah. Go ahead, Dave.
About 30 miles west of Boston, just east of Worcester. Have a sort of a W-2 job working in finance and accounting for a big healthcare company. And my wife also is in a W-2 job. She works for a big REIT doing lease management and stuff. So about 6 years ago, I figured we needed to, find some other ways to invest other than our 401ks. And I started, I listened to your show, Jason, a lot and some other shows and started to invest. We're kind of doing it slow and steady. We bought 3 in Memphis back then in 2016. And then after that, 1 kind of down near Orlando in Volusia County, and another one in Sanford, Florida, and 1 in Jackson, Mississippi. So kind of slow and steady, looking now to maybe pick up a couple more in Jacksonville. So, and the goal is just, retirement and that kind of thing, trying to create like a pension with cash flow for down the road.
Good stuff. That's great. You're making it happen. Dave, you sound like you're probably not from that area outside of Boston, are you?
I am
Or
actually.
have you lived there
I
a
was
long
born
time?
in, yeah, I was born in Cambridge, Mass, and lived here most of my life. So
How many
I just,
people
I
don't
wasn't.
believe him because he doesn't have enough of an accent? Dave,
I know.
yeah, you have, see, Annie doesn't believe you. You have to say, repeat after me, park the car in Harvard Yard.
Park the car and have it done.
Yes, okay, oh, you passed. All right.
I can turn it off. I can turn it off and on.
Okay, good. Good stuff. Well, thanks for sharing that. Appreciate it. All right, let's go to David.
Yeah, hi. I am David from Dallas. I just about to purchase my 20th property from Jason
Oh, fantastic.
in Florida. I just missed out on the 4% interest rate because it was delayed about 2 weeks. So not too excited about that.
Yeah. Well, I know.
But that's all right. I think that inflation is a big deal now. I've got one tenant turnover that's costing about $10,000.
Ooh,
And
yikes.
that's just paint. So that's
And
it's
so
quite a bit.
with that turn, gosh, sorry to hear that. That's an expensive one. Folks,
I think so.
don't forget to file insurance claims on some of this stuff, okay?
Yeah,
You know,
sure.
this is why you're paying for insurance. I tell you, I've made good money from my insurance policies, okay? A lot of this stuff is covered and you don't even know it, okay? So that's one thing I want to be sure to say. But David, how much are you raising the rent now that you've got that turn? What will the rent increase be on that one?
I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be, but it should be more than what it was. Sure.
Yeah. Well,
And-
don't be shy about those
Mhm.
rents because they are higher than you think. Okay.
Yeah, that's true. And I've got one $1,000 dishwasher that I'm paying for right now, which I think is quite high. I mean,
That
they
is ridiculous. I've never paid
Yeah.
1,000 for a dishwasher.
Right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's pretty interesting. All right. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Folks, if you are not self-managing your properties, first of all, I want to really recommend that you do that. But number two, even if you have managers, it's so easy to price shop them nowadays. It is unbelievable how easy it is to get contractors and get work done. Let me just give you a couple of examples. Ashley was just doing this for me on one of my properties, quite literally the day before yesterday and yesterday. A toilet on a property had a little bit of a problem, and I said, a lot of times with toilets, you just replace them. They're so cheap, you just replace the thing. Like, don't bother fixing it because then you just get a brand new one and you start over, right? Anyway, do you know on Yelp now you can go on Yelp and there's a whole interface to get quotes, and you can just get any vendor in any trade you need. And Yelp has really gotten quite good at that. If you haven't used it lately, go back and use Yelp again, okay? And also Thumbtack and TaskRabbit, super handy. We use those all the time. They're just fantastic. So the new house that I'm buying is a personal residence. I couldn't get my agent to sit there because I'm getting all these trades coming through the house to give me quotes on stuff. And so guess what we did is we hired someone from TaskRabbit to sit there and pay them $40 an hour to sit there, because you know how they have a window, they say we'll be there between 9 and 12. So we just pay them for 3 hours to sit there and let the people in. Like, there's so many things you can do so easily, so remotely now, and how you can shop prices and you can get deals on stuff. It is shocking to me how much the prices on things vary. The same exact work, whether it be a paint job or a roof. I mean, it's just all over the board. It's absolutely staggering, the differences. And I think a lot of it is that a lot of these contractors or property managers, they just think people just don't know, or they don't ask questions, or they don't shop. So I use the Home Depot website constantly. I just go there quickly and look up, okay, new toilet in this house. It's like, okay, there's a good toilet for $140, and get someone from Thumbtack to install it. I mean, or Yelp. It's just really, really quite easy to do this stuff nowadays. The world has gotten a lot better at sourcing these services and being able to shop for these services. Okay. And the nice thing is, on a lot of these platforms, they're all rated. They have ratings, they have reviews. You can really, see what you're doing. Okay. So just wanted to point that out there. Okay. Mom, you didn't really introduce yourself, so let's go to you.
Well, I'm Jason's mom, and I live in Alabama, and I am buying as many houses as I'm selling as many houses as I possibly can in California on 1031 exchanges, and buying houses in Florida, the free state.
Yeah, my mom loves Florida, and she doesn't even live there. And so, Mom, how many houses have you purchased in the past year and a half since you've been on this buying binge?
I have 13 in Florida now.
Okay. And so all of those 13 are new purchases,
Oh, yeah.
right? Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. And how many total?
23.
Okay. Good.
I
Yeah.
still have
Congratulations.
10 left in California.
Yeah. So you're going to sell are you selling all 10 of those in California? Or?
Yeah, because, I just told you about the fact that I want to raise that girl $700 rent, and I know I'm going to have a terrible time about it.
Yeah.
So,
right.
I mean, in Florida, you can raise the rent to whatever you want, as long as, don't be foolish and have an empty house. But, because the first tenant that I had, one of the first tenants that I had last year, her rent is only $2,500 a month. And I thought, whoa, that was a great rent. But now that rent should be $3,000 to $3,300 a month. Okay. So I will certainly be able to do that and not have any guilt feelings about it at all.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it is, the market should determine the price. That's the way capitalism works. It allocates resources really efficiently like that. And, why should the government get in the way and, tell you you can only raise the price so much? The market should tell you that. And you are subject to the pressures of the market, and so is the tenant. So the two of you will agree, or you won't agree. And then either of you will pay the consequences. That's the way it works. And that's the way it should work. And so what you're seeing right now is not just my mom's story, but there are zillions of other people like her that are doing the exact same thing and fleeing these states that are really highly controlled. And what you'll see is the housing shortage in these states will get worse and worse and worse, as nobody wants to be landlords there and nobody wants to provide rental housing because of all of the government regulation. So that's the way it is. All right, Mom, thank you for sharing that. And Christian, you can unmute.
Hi, evening, everybody. So I'm another
newbie. You're the one I talked to today, right?
Yes, just
okay. Hey, welcome.
Hey, appreciate it. It was great talking to you, and this is a unique opportunity. I'm really impressed with this group so far, so thank you.
Thanks.
One of the newest members to this investment community, just moved from San Antonio, Texas to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I've been a career government civilian, civil service for about 25 years now, and just kind of my eyes open to real estate investing during the pandemic when people were working from home a lot, and I spent less time in the office, wrapped up with my, my government world. And that's when I got intrigued with real estate investment. So what brought me to Florida was my children graduated from high school, and I got an opportunity to transfer here. So just in November, I transferred here, bought a small house in Fort Lauderdale, which was sort of an undertaking.
Which will
myself.
cost $1.5 million, but yeah.
Right. Fortunately, I got a small starter home out in Plantation, a small suburb. So even that was difficult,
Yeah.
25 offers in one day, in the first day that a house was on the market. That was the environment I came into.
Sure.
But my situation is I've got a single family back in San Antonio. I've got a small single family here that I'm living in. Both are primary residences of mine. I've yet to get my first tenant. I've got family living in the one in Texas. But I'm ready to really get into this year, buy my first actual tenant occupied rental, and just looking to learn from this community on how to accelerate, create the snowball, and get to the point where I can create generational wealth for my family and augment my retirement here in a few years. And that's my story.
Good stuff. Thanks, Christian, for sharing that. And Christian's with Homeland Security, so he has all kinds of interesting stuff in his background with the stuff he does. It's really fascinating. Well, welcome aboard. And let's go to Eric.
So Eric from Houston. Me and my wife, Melody, we have 10 rental homes, and we have 7 in contract in Florida, which we contracted in 2020. And we're just getting our first one probably in a couple of weeks. So, it's starting to come through. It's all with Southern Impression Homes, those 7 homes. So let's see. I want to say, Jason, thank you so much for you and Sarah both for all y'all's help over all these years. It's been really good. My wife and I, we started doing this back in 2002 because she was a realtor, and we just started buying properties and messing up all along the way. And it got a lot simpler when I started listening to your podcast. So
that's great.
It's been really good. And also my son, he attended the Creating Wealth Seminar, the last one that you just did. And so he's saving up to buy his first rental home. So I think it says a lot, and so
that's great. How old's your son?
He is, well, let me think about that. He's 24.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So it's all good. And I really enjoy the community. I tell a lot of people to try to listen to your podcast. And I tell people there's a lot of podcasts out there and a lot of communities, but you got to find the one that you feel like you fit. And I've been listening to you guys for a long time. So thank you very much for everything you've done. And Sarah, shout out to you.
Hi, Eric. And Eric and I won the portfolio game in Orlando.
Good.
He
Good
won
stuff.
twice.
Good stuff. Well, we're going to try to play a version of that virtually tomorrow. I don't know if I can pull it off virtually. It's going to be different, but we're going to do it. So we'll see how that goes tomorrow. But Eric, thanks for all the kind words. We appreciate it. And glad you are here. Okay. Right. So who is this? I don't know. It's Silk BP. What is that? That's an email address at EDU. Yeah.
That's Brian Silk in Woodland Hills, California.
Hi, Brian. Welcome.
Thank you.
So tell us what you're up to.
I have been associated with your organization for 5 years. The second seminar I attended, I purchased 2 homes in Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh, yeah, I remember you now. Yeah.
I'm a friend of Gary's.
Sure. Yeah. I met you at not Comdex, but CES, yeah, years ago.
That is correct. You got a good memory.
Yeah.
I share a little story with the group. 2 years ago, this month, I was on a vacation to Williamsburg, Virginia from Los Angeles, strictly a vacation. And saying, well, if I was looking for real estate, I could write the trip off as an expense. So I stopped by a real estate office and there was no agents there. And they basically scrounged up a woman to come in and talk to me late in the afternoon. And she didn't want to talk to investors. I don't have time for you guys. But after a short conversation, she says, okay, I'll give you some time tomorrow. And to make a long story short, she took me to a new development where they were building townhomes. And they had a couple of demo models there. And it was the end of the quarter. And the saleswoman said, well, if you buy this one today, I'll knock off $40,000. Well, that's attractive. And I said, okay. I said, I'm looking at another one, which is a little less expensive. He says, well, if you buy that one, we'll knock off $5,000. So being a smart investor, I said, how much do you want for both of them? And she said, if you buy both of them, I'll pay all your closing costs. Since I had one of Gary Pinkerton's banks, I knew I had money available. I wrote her a down payment check right then and there and bought 2 more properties in Williamsburg. They have gone up 20% for the last 2 years.
Wow. Yeah.
And you were mentioning something earlier. City property taxes just went up in February, $35 a month. And the homeowners fees went up $75 a month. Now, how can I raise the rents $110?
So that's not a rhetorical question?
No, it isn't.
Okay. Well, I mean, do you think your rents are below market now? It's quite easy to raise rents right now. But you've got to wait till your lease expires if you've got leases, obviously.
They are coming up.
Yeah.
I do have a question. I don't know if I should ask you now or ask tomorrow. I have 3 mortgages, and the mortgages have all been turned over to collection agencies. And even though my due dates for the 17th of the month because of rents, they moved all my collection dates to the 1st.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I send in basically payments, they're logging them late and dinging my credit report. And they're used to dealing with deadbeats and not investors, and they will not make any changes. And now they're saying, well, we're not responsible for the mail, and it takes 3 weeks to get a letter from Los Angeles to wherever. What do I do?
You know what? I think pretty much everybody who needs to use their credit needs to have a credit enhancement service that they just basically pay $99 to a month forever. I don't have one now, but I used to, and I probably got to get one again because there's always going to be some little thing, and they can get those things taken off. They know how to do it. They have systems for it, and they can make it happen. One of the big ones out there is called Lexington Law. It's a big firm, and for like $79 or $99 a month, you just sign up with them and they just do it. And they just, they're just constantly managing your credit for you. And, you also get, you get the insight on your scores and all that kind of stuff as well. So I would recommend that. Now, there is one that actually, I think you get it for free if you do our Fund and Grow program. So, and I believe that webinar is at jasonhartman.com/fund. And with their program that gets you up to $250,000 in interest-free funding, Darlene knows about this and she's next. I believe you get their credit enhancement stuff for free. And they have a sister company called Kadem Credit. And you really just kind of need to have one of these companies, I think, all the time, just working for you constantly, where they just automatically take care of this stuff, because these companies are just evil and they don't care. They don't answer the phone. It's disgusting, frankly, the way they treat customers. I think we just all have to have those on retainer nowadays, basically. And, they moved my score up quite a bit. I mean, and I'll tell you something also that this is not new information. I've said it on the podcast, but I love these people that are constantly bragging about how they have 850 FICO scores. And they're not doing anything because they're not using their credit. Clearly, it's like saying, well, I have perfect skin, but I never get any sun, right? And the sun is good for you, right? To get a little bit of sun, right? A moderate amount. And, it's, you want to use your credit. If your credit score is too high, it means you're not using it. And your credit is an asset you need to use. But at the same time, you also need to manage and guard your scores. So I would recommend just, signing up with like Lexington Law or Kadem Credit. And I think with the Fund and Grow thing, you get that included for free. Don't quote me on that. I'm not positive, but I think it is. And, you just have one of these firms that's just constantly there for you. That's what I recommend.
Very good. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, my pleasure, Brian. Because these companies just take advantage. They just roll over people. It's terrible. Darlene.
I'm Darlene Root from Naples in the winter and Sterling Heights, Michigan in the summer. So I'll be going back there in May or June, whenever I decide to leave. Market here is bananas. It's out of control. I was able to negotiate a really cool lease in the unit that I am in for next year. They went up from $2,800 to $5,000 from this year to next year. And I said, no,
On a snowbird lease. Is that a 6-month lease?
7.
7-month lease. So they used to lease that for 7 months for $2,800 a month, and now they're leasing it for $5,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I know, and they're getting it. My
Yeah,
friend,
I know.
he's right downtown, and he's getting 15 grand a month, but he's right downtown Naples. That said, I was able to negotiate $2,500 a month next year, and then I'm doing a lease with an option kind of in that, because I would like to buy this unit. But it is bananas here. Last year, I think I've shared this with you. They were asking 189, and I'm like, no, oh hell no, I'm not paying 189. And the one next door.
What do you mean to buy it? What are you talking about? 189 what?
To purchase.
$189,000
last year. They want.
You can buy anything for 189. That blows my mind.
Last year you could. This
Okay.
year, actually year before last. This year they the one next door just sold for 469. That's how much.
189 to 469 in 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
No, but anyway, been a long time investor. Jason and I know each other from a different mastermind that I was in at one time. And I do have a high credit score. So I had to laugh because I came from the camp of everything is free and clear. And then you just do stuff in your Roth IRA and live a tax-free life. And that went swimmingly for a while. But then I realized, and I still do have my mortgage notes in the Roth IRA, but having income properties in that environment isn't great because I was paying cash. I wasn't leveraging because I wanted to avoid the unrelated debt finance component of that. And the other thing was I wasn't getting depreciation. So now I'm going to get with Fund and Grow. Still haven't pulled the trigger on that because I have to have earned income. I've been living tax-free for the last several years. So now I have to have some sort of tax base and be back on the radar in order to do that. So I'll be buying my first rental in Ocala. I just closed on a property yesterday in Ocala, and I just sold it for $35,000 over ask. So that was a quick.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's awesome, Darlene. Congratulations. Darlene, you may have heard her on my show before. She has a lot of really creative strategies when it comes to using retirement accounts and so forth. So you can talk to her about that. Also, everybody, please look in the chat. I just put the link for the free class on the credit stuff, the Fund and Grow stuff that we talked about. Darlene, thank you for sharing. Appreciate that. And Euros or Marijana, if you can unmute there.
Hi.
Yeah. Hi.
Euros is still working, so yeah, it's me now. So my name is Mariana, and we live in Vancouver, in Canada, and actually we are renter here, so that's one of the reasons why we started to invest in US, because the prices here are crazy. Guys, if you think that US is expensive, I'm gonna just give you.
Try Vancouver, yeah.
Vancouver West. So median selling price in February 2022, single family home. Jason, do you have any number on your mind?
Oh, I kind of know, so it's maybe not fair to ask me because I'll probably be closer than anybody, but
okay.
Median price for single family home in West Van, right?
Yes, February 2022.
Okay, I'm going to throw out 2.7 million.
3.66. Okay, let's go next. Townhouse.
West Vancouver.
1.8 million.
1.8 million.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And
Yeah.
two bed, two bath apartment, the one that we rent, 880,000. So guys, if you think that house market is expensive in US, so now you have it. So yeah, and so we started to invest in the, was it like end
By the way, Mariana, let me just interrupt you for a second.
Mhm.
I bet everything you just said is the way we will be thinking in 2 years from now about prices in markets we're looking at. We're going to look back on today, just kind of like think about right now. Just remember this meeting, right? And then maybe 2 years from now, remember, you'll think that all these prices we talked about today that we think are so high will look cheap in the rearview mirror. I'll just bet you that
Jason,
that
I
happens.
was actually gonna ask, how long, like, what were those numbers 10 years ago? How long did it take to get to that seemingly high inflated number?
Which number?
Well,
like the $3 million median price, what
Oh, in
was that
Vancouver.
10 years ago? Yeah.
3.66, please. This is Vancouver West. And I don't know 10 years ago, but I can tell you that we wanted in 2015 to buy a two bed, two bath apartment. And back in that time, the price was 499. So we were excited somehow make to do the down payment, because the down payment back in that time could be like 3% or 5%, something like that. So we managed that. And when we called the agent, so this is a 2015. After that, the prices just start to be completely crazy. I mean, in terms how fast they grow. And the guy answered like, oh, if your amount doesn't start with 6, don't bother me, like don't waste my time. So back in that time, 2015. So before that, maybe it was more normal market, but after that, it's every time when I thought, this is the end, it cannot go further.
Yeah.
It went. So now we are here where we are.
So can you give us the comparison of the 469 that was in 2015? What is that number today?
The number, okay, so this apartment was in a downtown. So now it's probably, let's say, I think I would say like if it's 880, like the average. So yeah, around maybe 900, let's say. Yeah.
So that's double in 7 years.
Yeah, I don't know how much is it sold on the end. This was just the price that they, they put, but obviously they sold it for much more. And in 2018, sorry, on the end of 2018, we went on the New Zealand, but back in that time, there was some small like correction, but small one, that was one short period when the prices started to go down, but our government did everything, to push prices up. I mean, that's a fact, even if they are talking about opposite all the time. Yeah, so I can see something similar maybe in US as well, because they always try to solve the crisis, giving some initiative, some to the like first time home buyers and stuff like that. So they actually just push demand up, and it automatically, also push prices, so
Sure.
yeah.
So we got to go a little faster, but I want to ask you, Mariana, because you were on the show and you're buying American real estate, and we have sources now for loans for foreign nationals, which have always been very hard to get. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, who cares? I'm American. I don't need that. Well, the reason that matters to you is because that means more foreign direct investment in American real estate, increased demand, pushing up prices. Okay. Lots more investors from around the world can more easily get financing here now. And
Yes.
what type of financing did you get? Did you get a full 30-year loan, or what are you
Yes,
getting on
yes.
your American properties?
Actually,
Marla?
since that we don't have any mortgage here, we were able to get mortgages with some banks in US. It's a Canadian banks. And I'm also like in some Canadian investor groups who invest in US. So we get, they are looking for this ratio, but the interest is a little bit higher, but we are very happy to get a 30-year fixed mortgage.
Yeah. So as a non-American, 30-year fixed rate mortgages are available, and our investment counselors have sources for that. So yeah.
I'm not sure it's for all others, for some it is, for some it's not, but for Canadians, yes, it's possible to get these mortgages. And so thanks to that, we bought a house in Alabama, and then another one in Florida. And now we are in process in Florida, in Ocala, and now right now we are in process of purchasing the third house also in Florida, in Cape Coral.
Yeah, congratulations. And that means a lot more money flowing into the American real estate market. Mariana, thank you for sharing that. We just got to go a little bit faster, folks. Mary, how are you?
Hi. My name is Mary. I live in Highland, California. So I started in real estate about 16 years ago at the height of the market before the crash. I bought my first duplex. So as you can imagine, I way overpaid for it, but I didn't know what I was doing. The one thing that I did right, Jason, was that I saw that there was a cash flow, and I said, okay, I might as well, let's just do it. So over the years, I've had a great tax break from it. I've had a little bit of cash flow. My tenants have paid down the loan. And so now I'm in a position where I can either sell it or refinance it. And that's kind of where I am right now. I'm not, California has been horrible, of course, for tenants, but.
So that was a California property 16 years ago?
Yes.
Okay.
And so, my undecisiveness right now is whether I should refinance or sell it and buy out of state.
Sure.
That's kind of where I am right now.
Yeah. But what Mary's saying, everybody, is a very important lesson. So she overpaid for this duplex in California right before the Great Recession, which, really hurt a lot of people. But because the thing she did right is the property had cash flow, that made her investment sustainable, so she could keep it. So, who really cares that much about the value of the property unless you're selling it, right? It sort of doesn't matter. It's just a paper valuation until you actually liquidate it and have an event, right? So she didn't have to, she wasn't forced to have an event. She could just maintain and, go status quo because she had a property that had cash flow. So that's a good lesson. That's the one thing you did right. I don't know the details. You've got an investment counselor, obviously, but probably, I would say sell the California property. And how much is it worth?
It's worth about $465 right now.
What city?
Riverside.
Okay. Only 465, even in Riverside? I mean, those have gone up like crazy.
It needs some work.
Yeah. Okay.
So if I refinance it, I could probably pull out about 75,000. But if I sell it, I can probably make about 180 to 200,000.
Yeah.
So
you could probably buy 2 or 3 properties and diversify. So yeah,
I'm thinking,
and given that California is so landlord unfriendly, I would lean toward selling. Okay. So,
Jason,
good.
she has a decent RV ratio for California. I was actually surprised when we ran the numbers, but my thinking, given everything going on today, is that if you have an older property, this is for anybody, and I just did this, if you have an older property and you're going to have a lot of deferred maintenance coming up, I think that's the time to take top dollar and get out of it and get something newer.
Leave someone else with all those repairs, all those fun repairs.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. It needs a lot of work, but so that's what I'm thinking. I'm just going to sell it and move on.
Good. Good. Well, Mary, thanks for sharing that because I think that was a valuable lesson you shared with everybody. Okay, let's go to David. David, I know you've been patiently there and you're always sharing with everybody, you and Gina.
Oh yeah, Gina's sitting right over here eating dinner. So
Hi, Gina.
she's here with us. Yeah, we've been there. We've been with y'all since 2016. We bought our first place in Ellenwood, Georgia, with Sarah. Sarah walked us through that whole process, and that was trial by fire because we never even came close to doing anything outside of our primary residence until 2016. So we learned a lot along the way, and Sarah's been amazing helping us out through that process. And pretty much everything we've purchased has been through your network. We have a couple of one-offs here and there. I'm currently refining one of the duplexes in our duplex in Indiana. We have nine doors in Florida, and I've just made a cash deal in Ohio. So we've got I think 4 deals going about right now, and it's pretty much, we consolidated. We talked about this, I think last time we were on, we talked about we were in too many markets. We've consolidated down to about 4.
Yeah, good.
4 markets now. Yeah, it's good. We're getting out of the 5th one with an anti-landlord, Illinois. We're getting rid of our last property there. One's actually being sold right now. So we've got a lot of irons in the fire at this point, which is good. I think Sarah says always have a deal going.
Yeah, that's a good one. You know,
always be closing.
Always be closing.
That's a
ABC.
good way to say it. I used to always say always be in escrow. Then you're buying 6 to 12 houses a year at least, right? So yeah, good.
Yeah, so we're heavily into Florida. We started in Florida in 2018. And just to give you an example, the first duplex we bought 2 duplexes in Ocala there for 181,009, I think, and they're selling for double that.
Yep.
There, and then a year later we've got one in Palm Coast, which is it's just seen great appreciation compared to Ocala even. So yeah, we're really happy there. We're not chasing that so much, but it's on, like you said, it's on paper. But when I get done with the things that are in the works right now, I want to start looking at refining in Florida because I haven't done anything with the properties in Florida yet. So it's just lazy equity so far right now, but we want to get some things covered first, and then we'll move over into that neck of the woods and buy some more.
Good to hear. Dave, did you share your total number of properties that you have? Did you say that?
You know what, I was thinking about that, and I don't know. That's a bad thing because I used to have a whiteboard.
I remember one time I forgot I owned a house. I lost a whole house. I forgot I owned it. I hate to admit that. I just forgot about it until something came up.
It's around 15 doors, probably around 18 doors because we got rid of some. Yeah. So I'm thinking right around 18-ish doors because I count the duplexes too, of course. Yeah. 2 doors. So that's right around there. And I was like, oh no, he's going to ask me that. I have to go in my head.
Yeah.
We moved to Boise. I got rid of my whiteboard, so I need to get my whiteboard back.
Yeah. Well, you're a recovering Californian. You got out of California.
We've been here a year in Boise. I still got some things to figure out here. It's
good for you. Good for you. All right. Well, thank you for sharing. Appreciate that, Dave. Always fun to hang out with you guys. And Muthaya, I don't know, are you listening now? If you are, on mute.
Yes.
Hey, there he is.
I'm here. So anyway, I've been investing since 2016, and I have homes in 5 or 6 markets. I am also trying to consolidate into fewer markets. I'm actually refinancing out of a few and trying to buy in more newer construction properties with the old ones, especially in some markets like Mississippi. the quality of tenants are just giving me a lot of headache. It's hard to evict them. It's hard to collect rent. It's hard to deal with the property manager. It's just hard all the way around. So
you like the higher quality properties.
yes, only because
And
just less.
Muthaya, you're saying the thing that most investors learn is you start out with these deals that look cheap, but in real life, the more expensive ones are a better deal many times, aren't they?
Right.
Yeah.
No, what I did was the mistake that I made was that when I first bought these homes, I bought the less expensive homes at cheaper rates, and I should have done the opposite. And I'm just finding out that, hey, so I got to get rid of a lot of these homes that I've maxed out my Fannie Mae loans. So I've got to either sell them or I'm looking to get some portfolio loans as well to consolidate some of these so they don't appear on my finance properties, and then be able to go back and use those empty slots to get more expensive homes. So
yeah,
that's where I'm at. I'm looking at Florida, probably, and maybe Alabama. So those are the two that I'm looking at. And I also have some in Ohio, so probably Ohio as well.
Mm-hmm. And Muthaya, you're becoming quite a real estate mogul. How many properties total now?
I'm not a mogul.
You're getting there.
No. I think I have about 25 units, 25 doors.
Good stuff.
And, yeah.
Good for you. Good for you. Well, thanks for sharing that.
And thanks to you, Jason, for all your encouragement and inspiration.
Well, my pleasure, and that's just a great story, Muthaya. I've seen you develop over the years, and same with Dave and Gina, and just how they just keep buying more and more stuff. So it's awesome. It's really awesome. Well, good stuff. I think we got everybody who's got their video on. So let's kind of wrap it up for tonight. And if I missed anybody, you can share tomorrow, time permitting. We got a lot of stuff to cover tomorrow. First thing I want to ask you, everybody, is did you all get the workbook and download it? Okay, I put the link in the chat again, and all you need to do is go to jasonhartman.com/workbook. I would highly recommend that you actually print this out if you have a printer. Just print the workbook out in black and white. You can skip printing the cover page because it's got all that color on it. But this is a workbook where you want to take ideally a pen, a good old-fashioned pen. My mom's familiar with these. Okay. And write on paper. This is a really good one that's worth printing if you can. Okay, print the workbook for tomorrow. And we're going to cover a whole bunch of good stuff tomorrow. We're going to cover all kinds of things about analyzing markets, analyzing properties, analyzing the investments, and building a portfolio. And when you build a portfolio, like Muthaya was just alluding to, and really Dave and Gina too, what do you really want in your portfolio? Like, what's the end goal? Do you want to maximize your cash flow? Do you want to maximize your tax benefits, your leverage, your management efficiency? And I got to tell you, I really redesigned my own personal portfolio last year, and I've still got one more piece of that puzzle to do. So I'll tell you about that tomorrow. And, it's just different stages for where we are in our life, for where we are in our investment path. And we'll go over a little property acquisition checklist, managing your properties, optimizing that, and just a whole bunch of stuff. Now, there's one other piece of homework here, and you might want to just do this now so you're ready tomorrow. How many of you have iPhones? iPhone people? Okay. All right. So now I know the smarter people. Just kidding. It's so funny how Android and iPhone people, they're like tribes. It's like a belief system, which one you use. But you can do this on Android too. Go to your app store and download a free app called Financial Calculators. I have no affiliation with that app at all. I just think it's a handy calculator to have. The built-in calculator on your phone does not do all this cool stuff, but the Financial Calculators app is a whole bunch of different calculators that include like the time value of money and all kinds of cool stuff that is the the foundational stuff for if you're interested in money and finance and growing your wealth. So the Financial Calculators app, that's actually the name of it. I'll put it on the screen actually, just so it's called Financial Calculators, just in the App Store. Okay. So get that, and then you'll be ahead for tomorrow. And we'll have a great day. Again, I'd highly recommend you print your workbook. And also tomorrow, please don't be afraid to use the chat and post questions in the chat, comments, observations, whatever. And we'll have a few guest speakers tomorrow, so you won't be hearing from me the whole day. So you won't be totally bored with my voice. And I'm just looking forward to a great day. 11 o'clock Eastern is when we start, and we'll end at about 4 o'clock Eastern time. Okay. Any questions for tonight before we adjourn? Anybody unmute?
Can you show the picture of that app again?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask too.
Yeah, there's many.
It's easy financial calculators, correct?
Easy? Okay. Is that the one?
Sorry, let me check.
Yeah, that's the one I found.
It's called Financial Calculators. They may have
I
changed.
find a lot.
Right, but there's if you type in financial calculators, you get like 10 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's
Okay,
easy
I'll
financial.
show you. I'll show you the one.
I think it's easy. I think that's the one that he's talking about.
Yeah, show the icon, Jay.
I will. Hang on.
I
of
cannot see
course,
it.
you can get
It's
any
by,
of them.
it's by JHU Incorporated. There
It's
is
too,
a-
sorry.
Yeah, there's
Yes,
time
it is
value, currency
easy
converter,
financial
loan.
calculators. There's the icon.
Just
Okay.
put it down a little bit. Okay, yep, I can see it. Got
Okay.
it.
Yeah, okay, we got it.
Calculator and gold coins. We like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised those aren't Bitcoins or something nowadays.
Oh, maybe they are. You just can't see the top.
It's an old-fashioned kind of app, but when you open it, look at all these different calculators it has. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, okay. So just a handy thing for you. Now, if you're really experienced like me, you have the HP 12C.
Or you
Look at how battered this thing is. I am never giving this up. I love
I have a
this
TI
calculator.
81. I actually have several of them.
This is a 1986 vintage, probably.
Yeah.
And I took a 4-day class to learn how to operate it.
Well, I have it in this version.
Oh, look at you people.
There's an app for that.
Wow. You know, they still make these. You can still buy them.
I like it better
$65.
here, Jason. It's portable.
Wow.
Jason,
My purse.
I was 6 years old when that calculator.
We're pretty close.
I was only 4 when I got it.
Yeah. 2.5.
But the buttons don't work on it properly.
What's that?
Right. The buttons don't work on it. I
the
mean,
HP
I bought 2 new ones, and it's always skipping numbers and everything. It's terrible.
You got to press them hard.
On,
You have to
on
press
my
them
old
hard.
one, the buttons don't work very well just because they're so worn out. But on the new ones, they should work fine.
No, you got to press them hard on the Texas Instruments.
Yeah.
No,
That
no,
HP.
it's an HP.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
don't know.
But it doesn't work. It's just useless. I mean, it constantly makes mistakes.
Does anybody here work for Hewlett Packard? Help my mom.
No.
Can't help you with that one, Mom. I don't know. Get the app on your phone, okay?
Well, it uses a reverse Polish notation method, right? That
Yeah,
might be the
it's
problem.
really
it does,
totally
yes.
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a completely weird calculator. It's backwards in
I,
everybody's thinking.
I love it, but it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. Okay, everybody. So we will see you tomorrow. Okay. Any other questions? You all
Thank
set
you.
for tomorrow? Okay.
Bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Sounds good. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good
11
night.
o'clock Eastern. See you
Bye.
then. Bye bye.
See you in the morning.